Get this. So recently, my buddy got a text message from a random girl, or he thinks it was a girl anyway, that says she was a 22-year-old student from a university in the United States. Well, that narrows it down. The text was very strange. It mentioned no alcohol or violence was allowed. Okay. Then she said sex toys were welcome, and that if the situation allows, we can spend the night together. Okay. Then the text message ends with the phrase, "Please add my Telegram contact. I wish you a happy life." Well, wasn't that nice of her to wish him a happy life? He went to her Telegram account to see what it was all about and to see how it would play out. Half knowing it was a scam, but not sure exactly how it worked, he cautiously moved forward. Well, once he got into Telegram, Ruby, the girl who originally texted him, asked him for his home address. He provided an address in the next town over. Because he didn't want to give her his real address, individuals involved in these activities collaborate to collect information that can be used for identity theft, so he aimed to avoid sharing any potentially useful data with them. When she had his location, she told him to pick a girl from a series of about 6 or 8 pictures. He said the options weren't that great, but he picked out a blonde who he thought looked cute. Then she told him that he would have to go through 3 rounds of voting. He still doesn't know what he was voting for, but apparently that wasn't important. Then, once he was at the 3rd level, he'd be able to finally hook up with the girl he had chosen, Alyssa. He was told he would have to get in touch with Elsabelle, who was an agent. Ruby provided him with a link to Elsabelle's Telegram account, so he messaged her introducing himself. She explained that he would have to go through 3 rounds of voting. Each round would level him up until he got to the VIP level 3, when he could then meet his date. The first round of voting started at $50 with a 10% return, up to $120 with a 20% return. He chose the $50 option and sent it in the form of Bitcoin to the address she provided. A huge red flag. After they received the money, he was told to go to a website, midnightmeet.vip. Then she sent him a series of screenshots outlining step by step the process he had to go through in order to get past level 1. After that was complete, he was able to withdraw his earnings, which totaled $55. Then he took a few days off to do some other stuff, going back later in the week. He told Elsabelle he was busy with some day job stuff, and she understood, asking him if he was currently available to move forward. He said yes, and she sent him a link to a group chat. In there was another menu with 3 options to choose from, starting at $120 and going up to $300, each with a different percentage of return based on the amount you put up. In the group chat, 2 of the members he believed were plants because they were very excited to begin voting, saying that they had been doing this for a few months, which I told him was another red flag. So there was my friend and another guy, John Brown, who apparently were there for the first time. They all chose a $120 option, which they paid again in Bitcoin, and then they voted based on the explicit instructions they received. Then Elsabelle told them that the merchant wanted them to vote again. This time the price range went from $300 up to $800, so he reluctantly put up $300 in Bitcoin and completed the voting process once again. She told him to wait until the merchant got back to her acknowledging the voting was successful. Then she told them the merchant had one last task for them, but first they had to put up between $800 and $1,600. This was getting out of hand. He couldn't really afford that much money, but he felt that he couldn't get his prior investments back until he did. So, after some issues with his crypto wallet and bank, he finally got the money to them. Now, apparently he was very nervous about this task because the agent told him that they needed to vote the same amount on 2 different options. Then she sent out another message telling him to vote $240. So he typed in $240 and clicked vote. Well, apparently he was supposed to divide the $240 by 2 and only put in $120 instead of $240. At this point, after dealing with his bank and transferring crypto, he apparently missed having to do the math before voting. He said that the other times were straightforward, but this time she didn't provide a diagram of the site with the amount pre-filled as she had done previously. Well, long story short, she said that because my buddy and John Brown didn't vote correctly, they would forfeit all their money. At this point, He figured the guy who did the same thing he did might be a plant as well. However, all was not lost. Elsabel mentioned that if they put up $3,000, they would have a chance to vote again. And if they did it correctly, they'd get all their money back. However, if he didn't vote correctly, then they'd lose everything. But if they put up $4,000, even if they messed up, they get all the money back. So that's when he decided to cut his losses. There was no way he believed they intended on giving him any money back. So, in order to buy some time, he asked for an extension to come up with the cash. She had agreed to extend it until next Wednesday. In the meantime, he contacted me, and together we contacted the FBI, just like I tell everyone to do. And we're currently waiting to hear from them, letting them know the situation and that he was under a time constraint. When he complained about the arbitrary rules to the agent, she suggested he contact the FBI as well, and then laughed over a telegram saying that wouldn't get him his money back. At that point, we started researching the company, and we couldn't find anything about them or the website they used for him to vote. That was the point we realized that he had just been scammed. You see, they prey on lonely middle-aged men looking for companionship. They get you to think you'll meet the girl of your dreams, when in fact, you'll never meet anyone. I'm not sure what the rub is after putting up $3,000 or $4,000 to retrieve your money, but I'm guessing it involves a simple task that you will ultimately fail. So if you don't put up the $4,000, you lose everything. He had messaged John Brown to see if he had sent any money to Elsabel, and if so, how it ended up. Losing $1,200 is not something my friend can afford right now. Then again, I guess there's never a good time to lose money. However, he felt like he'd been had. He says he felt alone, depressed, and like an idiot that he fell for such a stupid scam. I'm pretty sure that no matter what options he chose or the amount he used to vote, he would have been out of that money regardless. He said he should have stopped when they wanted $800, but I told him he should have never contacted them to begin with. At this point, we're waiting to hear back from the local FBI agent so we can hopefully recoup some of his losses. But where the transactions were done using crypto, I doubt he'll get anything back. Let my buddy's experience be a lesson to anyone who gets a random text from someone you don't know telling you that they'll find you a date. These people are just going to milk you for all the money they can get. He cut his losses once he realized these people were scammers. I hope nobody gets caught up in this, because if you do, you're on your own. I'll update you with any information we get from the FBI, but I told my pal not to count on seeing his money again. Lesson learned. Well, if you learned something from this video, click on the like and subscribe buttons, and please polish that bell so you get the skinny on the next scam. Until next time, stay vigilant and trust no one.